All right. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Mark. Thank you for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing market analysis. So this is a live stream. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area. And in this session, I'm going to go over the Bitcoin price action because there seems to still be some questions about this. And I want to make sure that we are clear on what our expectations are. And then I want to talk about the stock market a bit because we have the presidential election tomorrow. And the idea behind this session is to see what kind of clues the market may be giving us about what large players are anticipating as far as an election outcome. Okay. Now, again, it's important to go into situations like this with no bias, meaning you can't go in there with, well, if this guy wins, I expect this. If that guy wins, I expect that, because the market is not rational. All right. And, the scenario that you expect may unfold, but the market may not behave the way you thought. Okay. So again, that's a mistake to apply logic to these situations. It's best to think of it as an FOMC meeting or an NFP release where, you're expecting a large move one way or the other, but going into it with no bias. All right, so with all that, let's get started. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, real quick, yesterday I had a webinar, not yesterday, on Saturday, I had a webinar. Hey, Michael. Hey, DJ, nice to see you. And in my webinar, it was a part 2 of the trade setup webinar that I had conducted the month before. So if you're new and you missed that webinar, you can go back. Actually, I put the link in our free member chat room. It's also in our member chat room as well. So you could go back and check it out there, and I will be putting it in our webinar library. Okay, but so we'll talk more about that. But you should check out that webinar. It covers a lot of our philosophy and why we use the trade setups that we do. All right, so now, today is Monday. And Monday means economic calendar. Monday is economic calendar day. And we need to at least be aware of what events are occurring this week, especially if you're involved in things like Forex and CFDs. I know we don't have a lot of Forex traders here, but this even helps the stock market. Okay. So let's just take a look at this real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. So, all right, they have this stuff today, like not a big deal, ISM manufacturing, PMI, okay, whatever. The Royal Bank of Australia rate statement, important if you're in an Aussie pair or like New Zealand pair or something like that. But these aren't global market movers. These countries, their currencies tend to react to what goes on, in commodity markets like oil and gold or stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about that rate decision. Now, tomorrow, presidential election. Now, there may be a lot of drama around this. There has been a lot of drama going into this. So you have to, again, like I said, you cannot go into this with a bias. All right. People want to believe that they have control, meaning, if this scenario comes out, then this should happen. But again, you can't go by that. It's the same as saying, if this stock has great earnings, the price should go higher. But as we all know, that doesn't always happen like that, right? And it doesn't, when it doesn't happen and it goes against logic, people are like, I don't understand. The stock market, the stock had great earnings and blah, 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 and it went lower. It's because it may have been priced in, or perhaps the earnings, the expectations were so high that the stock could not meet them, okay, even though logically they were high. So you have to keep that in mind with something like this. But I do want to look at the S&P and the NASDAQ. I want to look at some stocks to see if there are any price action clues that can clue us into what large players may be thinking. Now keep in mind, large player has better information than we do. All right, whether it's an institutional player, whether it's a large investor, they have better information than we do. They may have access to a predictive model that may give them more of a heads up on who is more likely to win, and they can place their bets that way. We can't do that. So we'll see what the price action tells us, because price action is, that's where the reality is. Okay, now, what else do we have? So New Zealand unemployment rate, not going to worry about those things. No, those aren't a big deal. Japan, monetary policy meeting minutes. That's usually not a big deal. All right, so that's not a market mover. Australia, retail sales, not a market mover. Okay, now we're going into the unemployment situation here. Now, this is going to be after the election, okay? This is on Wednesday. So ADP, that can have somewhat of an effect if there's any extreme numbers. And also, depending on the context of if there's a new administration being expected, that can have an effect on things. So good idea to at least be aware of it. That comes out early at 8:15 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, ISM services PMI, not a big market mover. Australia trade balance, not a big market mover. Europe retail sales, not a big market mover. If you notice, the euro is at a very important inflection point, the euro against the dollar. I'm interested in a long, but I'm not getting into anything going into the election, because if there's if there's any kind of surprises, then that would also hint toward change in monetary policy, and the dollar could be all over the place. So I want to wait on that. All right, so what else do we have? Bank of England, the vote cut. Okay, the minutes, the Bank of England minutes, the interest rate decision, important for the pound. The pound is also in a location to rally. So this information can move the pound, and the pound is a mover. So definitely want to be aware of that. That is what, on Thursday. That's at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, so just be aware of that. There's all this there's all this pound stuff here. The monetary policy report, blah, blah, blah. So, and it's all coming out at the same time. Okay, now, on the 5th, which I believe is, what is that, Thursday or is it Friday? It's Thursday, right? So the FOMC comes out on Thursday. That's strange. Okay, maybe I guess because of the election they moved it or whatever. But this is usually they do this early in the week, like a Tuesday or something. All right. But obviously, perhaps they are waiting for an outcome as well. So that's an important piece of information. No matter what market you trade, you need to know that this is coming out. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern time. The policy statement in the FOMC press conference, that is just as big as NFP, okay? Especially if there are any surprises in there. And I notice also there's no NFP this week, or is there? Let's see, there's 2 pages to this. Can I go to the second page? Let's see. Yeah, look at that. Okay. See this? So non-farm payrolls is on Friday. So you have FOMC on Thursday, non-farm payrolls on Friday. All right, and forget this Canadian stuff. No one cares. So important pieces of information right there. NFP can move Forex markets dramatically and the stock market if there are any surprises. So just something to keep in mind. So we do have an important week. Also, going into these reports, okay, after the election, going into these reports, volume could get thin because, people need to have, the large players need to have some sort of, they like to have some sort of certainty, some sort of idea before they, commit to large, positions or whatever they're planning to do. All right, so a couple of things to keep an eye on there. And things can change quickly. All right, so let's get into Bitcoin now. By the way, if you're new, you know how this works. Please share with me a market or a stock that you would like to see analyzed. And once I complete my analysis here, I will get into what you want to see. Okay, and again, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I spent way too much time on the economic calendar. All right, so, again, tell me the symbols you want, and we'll get to those. Just put them in the chat. By the way, if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, I just have to say this real quick before I start. Make sure that you register for this channel here so you get an email notification every time I do one of these. Plus, like the video if you like it because it's encouraging. And if you can, please share it with your friends. Also, check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal by text, by email, portfolio management ideas by email, which we've been pretty busy with, and a chat room where we're sharing insight and perspective each day. We are changing our prices very soon. I talked about that in the webinar. So sign up for the 7-day free trial now and you lock in current prices. We're not going to raise prices on members. So if you're a member, when we raise our prices, then you get to keep our great low prices. Otherwise, you're going to get the higher prices. All right, anyway, so if you have any questions about that, just please let me know. Let's get into Bitcoin. Now, so here's the thing. we're getting questions about, is Bitcoin along? Is Bitcoin along? It's been holding up. It's been lingering around this resistance. Okay. Now, Michael, hold on. You talking about Bitcoin there? Michael says, I have reduced my positions as it rallied. I only have 1/3 left of my initial position. Oh, are you talking about, I'm not sure. Are you talking about Bitcoin, Michael? So if that's the case, I mean, look, you did the right thing. If you only have 1/3 left and you want to try to let the winner run, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I mean, the market the Bitcoin is at a resistance, and look at this pin bar today. That's a pretty dramatic pin bar. Um, perhaps that's the effect, like same type of gold. People are running for safety, whatever could be. I don't know. I try not to get opinionated like that. But the thing is, I can only go by the price action. And the title of this webinar, or the title of this video here is, is Bitcoin going to 12K? Well, at this moment, it's not, because we have a pin bar, a bullish pin bar. But is this a long? And the answer is no, it's not a long. The reason why, again, and for those of you in the chat room, and the people that came to my webinar, as well, because I talked about this specifically. This area, this whole area, is a resistance area. Now, getting a bullish pin bar right into the resistance area, that's not a bad sign if you're long. It's a bad sign if you're short, that's for sure. I would not want to be short seeing something like this. I'd be getting out if I was short, but we don't short Bitcoin, as you know. So, but many do, and many don't believe that, oh yeah, whatever, it'll pull back. It's going to go to 5,000 because my fake guru told me so. Well, it's not going to 5,000, okay? Not with this chart, anyway. So, so here's the thing. This is a bullish sign. At the same time, people may ask us, well, then why don't you get into this then? Why don't you buy this now? And the thing is, the risk is too high. So although we're getting a bullish pin bar, which can turn into a buy signal, this is good for people that are in it. So like Michael, if you're talking about Bitcoin here, and you're still in 1/3, there's no reason to exit. Okay. Square. Oh, okay, cool. Got you. No problem. So, but again, for anyone that is long Bitcoin, there's really no reason to get out. What we would like to see a retrace to the low 12Ks. And that's why I have this little line drawn in there, because that's what I would like to see. But by no means is that an absolute prediction. That's just an ideal scenario if Bitcoin wants to provide that for us. If it does not want to, then we have to adjust. But adjusting doesn't mean buying it now just because a buy signal is showing up. We have to respect the risk that we associate around this location. Risk comes first. And the reward risk just doesn't make sense. If I buy it here and it goes up a couple of 100 points, what do I have to risk to make that? 1,000? It's just not worth it. Not for a swing trade. For a day trade perhaps, not a swing trade. So the high probability location for a swing trade is still the low 12Ks. That's still the place, okay? And I don't care we have all these pin bars. I don't care about all this buying information. That's great, but we're looking at the probability. We're not reacting to the buying activity. That would be much more important to us if it appeared at a level that made sense. This is not a level that makes sense, okay, for something like that. So great if you're long. You could try to trail your stop. You could do all kinds of things to try to let that winner run. If you're not long, not a good place to get long because you're taking a lot of risk. So again, at this moment, Bitcoin does not look like it's going to pull back to 12K, but things can change real fast. As you saw with something like gold. Gold was doing okay. Next thing you know, it's back at 1850. So some stupid piece of news could come out, and next thing you know, this thing's pushing 12K, and all the fake gurus are all calling for 5K again. All right, so, and that's where we'll be looking to buy it. So that's what we're anticipating for Bitcoin. And another question that I get to is about the altcoins, right? People bring up Ethereum, people bring up Litecoin, people like to bring up some of the other ones. Keep in mind, the altcoins, when Bitcoin was working its way higher, many altcoins also gave buy signals, but a lot of them, they didn't follow through very well, okay? Like let's take a look at something like NEO, for example, right? NEO USD, that gave a buy signal and it didn't perform very well. Okay. Another one was Chainlink, right? Link USD. Look at this. Oh, this is actually not a good chart. Hold on. I need a better exchange here. Let's see here. Is this? Oh, Bitstamp. That's why. Let's see Coinbase. Right. So look, so again, this thing was trying to go higher, and it's just giving it back. So the point is, Bitcoin had the nice move, and these things aren't doing that great. It's all one big Bitcoin trade. People seem to think that these alts are going to move on their own, and that's not the case yet. So that's why, and Andrew pointed out in the chat room, he said he'd rather be getting out of alts than getting into them. The other thing is alts are better for long-term plays, not really short-term, because again, they're really dependent, they're still dependent on Bitcoin. Now maybe one will break free, like we have XMR, Monero, which is doing its own thing. I mean, now it's consolidating, but for a while it broke out and it was outperforming. Okay, that's a rare occasion. But for the most part, alts, you're better off just working with the main ones like Ethereum or Bitcoin or something like this that's proven itself. Okay, at least technically. All right, so that's the Bitcoin analysis. If you have any questions about it, let me know, please. Let's talk about the stock market real quick, because again, I want to spend time on what you guys want to see. So the stock market. Now we'll start with the Nasdaq. I have this box on my chart. I've been talking about this box for a while. All right, this box is an important support zone. And as you can see, price action in the support zone hasn't been easy, but there has been buying trying to happen here, right? A few days ago, we had this at one point was a bullish inside bar at one point, and then it closed not so great, closed as a pin bar, okay? Then it took out the low of the pin bar. But you notice, it's staying inside the box pretty much, right? It's struggling to stay in there, but it's staying in there. We have these tails on these more recent candles. Now, there's no buy signal here, okay? All we have is a location. But the point is this. Is this giving us any hint about the outcome of the election? In my webinar, I asked people, what is the stock market telling us? Well, this candle looked, what was it, yesterday or Saturday, it looked more like this. We didn't have today's candle in there. It looked like that. And that's more of, it looks like it's trying to find support, okay? So someone is stepping into it. Someone is starting to build something in there, or maybe a group of people. I don't know. But there is buying activity in there. That's what it's telling us. Now, whether that means that, it's trying to price in a particular outcome, I don't know. Here's all we can do. After this candle closes, today's candle, that's an inside bar, okay? It's a doji, it's an inside bar. The high and that low of the bar is going to be important going into tomorrow. Now, the election results aren't really going to be known till what? After midnight or something like that? Or maybe throughout the day, there'll be swings here and there based on how their analysis is and all the other drama that's going on. Right, so here's the thing. We have to look at this from a technical point of view. At this moment, it's all we can say is we are at a support level. And a rally is likely here. This level, this location, favors a rally. It favors a bullish reversal. There's no bullish reversal right now. So you can't just step in front of it saying, well, I'm just going to bet on the probability. We need confirmation. So that's why I'm saying the high and the low of today's candle is going to be very important tomorrow. If we take out the high tomorrow, all right, and it may happen intraday, that will be a buy signal. It can also happen overnight, because that's really where the results are going to be much more obvious, okay, with the election. If it takes out the low, that's bearish. Now, Andrew had mentioned he was looking for maybe some more selling activity going into this low here on the S&P, the low that's relative to the S&P, which we'll take a look at here in a moment, right, somewhere around there. Now, it's possible that the market can test that area. It's possible. And that would also most likely be a buying opportunity if the market can prove itself there. But right now, we are at an inflection point. We just need confirmation here, okay? It's not a good idea to step in front of it with no confirmation because, again, we take out that low, you're going to be taking pain. Now, let's take a look at the S&P real quick. Any questions about this, please let me know. All right, if you don't understand something that I'm saying, please let me know. Now, look, the S&P has a little bit different story here. Right? This is a little conflicting. So the NASDAQ was giving us more of a, it's in an area, but the candle isn't really cooperating. But look at this S&P candle. It took out yesterday's high. Okay, it took out the pin bar high. In fact, this is what we looked at in the webinar, and everyone was saying, well, the market's kind of giving us a bullish look, and that's what this is. You're near a range low. This is also a support area. I just don't have a box drawn on this one, and you also have the pin bar established, and you took out the high of that pin bar today. Yes, we have a doji, which is indecision, but the high and low, there's a buy signal in the S&P right now. All right, so again, that could be a clue as to how large investors are betting based on the information that they have about tomorrow. Again, remember, if you're a large investor, you can pay people. There are professionals out there that get paid to predict elections, okay? And they don't do it based on their feeling. They don't do it based on, well, I think this because I watched all this news. They have mathematical models, right? So they're not going to share that information with us freely. They get paid for that. So if a large player can afford to pay that analyst and they have an advantage to know what the model is saying, they can start buying before everyone else, right? And that's what this could be a sign of. That's what it could be. We don't know. But as a retail investor and trader and market timer, all we can go by are the clues or the footprints that the large players leave behind. And this is a footprint right here. Okay, so that's something we have to keep in mind. Again, if there are surprises, remember, they're not always right. Sometimes they're wrong. And yeah, they have to get out and stuff. And yeah, sure, they lose too sometimes. But, and this is not enough for us to just go, throwing money in like crazy. We always have to respect risk. But I'm saying here that this is a clue. All right, this is not a bearish sign here. This is a bullish sign. If we take out these lows tomorrow or Wednesday, then that's going to be a bearish sign. But then we're going right into the range low. So again, remember, trade ideas begin with a level. They begin with a level. Okay, then we need the setup, then we need confirmation. So we're near a level and we have setup and we have confirmation, but it's still early because we have a major fundamental event that we still have to get out of the way. This could just be a clue, okay? And that's the point that I wanted to make in this video. Do not go into this with a bias. Go into this with anything can happen, and I want to find clues from the chart. The chart can at least give me some idea. Now, what does this mean for stocks? Well, as you saw, Andrew has been sending out emails about stocks like VLO, okay? This was a portfolio ad. Is this structure the best structure? Well, no, this is not a swing trade either. This is a long-term trade. There's a failed low in there, by the way, and this may turn into a broad higher low, but that's what you have going on there. I mean, another one he called out was Honeywell, right? I mean, look at this. He called this one the other day. All right, so that one was a nice portfolio ad. This is a much better structure, by the way. Just to give you an idea, this area on the S&P is a place, it's not a bad place for portfolio ads. All right, now you guys are talking about Square. Well, that's a good question. Here, let me pull up Square. So, Square is another one. Look, great location for Square. No reason to buy it yet. Michael said that he got out of this thing. He has 1/3 left. Hey, so this is not really going to hurt him much. He's out of 2/3 of his position. Is this a bearish stock? No way. It's not a bearish stock. It's just pulled back. This is actually, in my opinion, a buying opportunity. There's just no reason to buy it technically at this moment. All right. So anyway, and we'll talk about that more. But if there's a contested election, which is very possible, then it will probably throw the market off. Okay. Because the market doesn't like uncertainty, and that will probably throw things off. I would expect bearish price action in that scenario, but I'm not expecting a dramatic push through those lows. Like I'm not expecting, if we go back to the S&P real quick, and there's some kind of uncertainty like that, okay? And remember though, the current administration has a lot in its favor as far as if it has to go to like the Supreme Court or something. There's a lot in Trump's favor. So so a contested election may not be as bearish as people may think. I'm not expecting a push through these lows. Okay, I mean anything's possible, but if we get something like that, I'd be expecting a failed low. That's what I'd be anticipating, and then it'd be up to the market to deliver that before I do anything. Okay? The market needs to provide evidence. I don't jump on my own ideas because the market doesn't care about my ideas. All right, so just something to keep in mind there. But good question. All right, so those are the two main points I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about Bitcoin. I wanted to talk about, the stock market relative to a couple of stocks for the bigger picture. Also, real quick, euro dollar, and I mentioned this earlier. Look at this. Looks like garbage, right? But we're in an important area. So I want to buy the euro. I really do. But there's just no reason to buy it yet. Great location, no reason to buy. If you trade Forex, keep this on your radar. Because once I see that buy signal, I am most likely going to send out a trade signal. I expect that to be after the election. So no buy signal today or tomorrow. All right. We are doing our podcast tomorrow, so far as I know, at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll be talking about more of the election situation, especially if we have more information by then. And of course, trade of the week as well. So check that out if you can. It's at 4 p.m. Now, let's get into what you guys want to see. All right. So let's say I'm looking through the chat right now. So you guys were first talking about Square. Right now, Square, again, this one has been on my radar. I've shared this in the chat room. Like I said, I like Square. Bullish chart. Nothing bearish about this thing. We have a pullback. These type of pullbacks are buying opportunities when you're buying into something that's strong, but people are banging it out for irrational reasons. All right, people, why is Square getting beat up? Oh, there was some news on it, and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter why. What matters is it's at an attractive location. I like this area. Like I said, we're missing, there's no setup, there's no confirmation. If the market pushes lower, people may bang out further. It's possible that you could push into this 133 area. It's possible. We have to be open to that. So like for someone like Michael, now Michael, you're a strong hand, right? You've exited 2/3 of your position so for profit. So what do you care, right? You can hold this, even if it goes back to break even, it's still a profitable trade for you. So that's the situation you want to be in. And then you're not going to be shaken out by moves like this. And then when the new setup develops, now you could, hey, buy back in, buy another third, right? So now you're back into 2/3. And now you have your original 1/3, and now you see if this thing could go for a new high, okay? Or something like that. Of course, you're going to need the stock market to be going with you on that. The NASDAQ is definitely going to have to get its act together and start going higher, which, it has not started to do yet. So just something to keep in mind there, okay? All right, so cool. Now, real quick, and before I get into the next one here, if you're new to Greenbridge, again, I just want to say this, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel here. And if you can, please like the video if you like my analysis. I don't see too many likes, so maybe people aren't liking this one. Let me know. Also, please share with your friends if you can. Now, check out our website at greenbridgeinvesting.com. We are raising our prices. So if you have not tried out our 7-day free trial, you should, because if you become a member, your prices will not change. We're also going to no longer offer a monthly membership either. So that's because in order to really benefit from our strategy, you need to be with us longer than a month or two. So, but the thing is this, if you're a monthly member now, nothing changes for you, okay? We're not going to take it away from our current members. It's only for people that aren't signed up. All right, so I just wanted to mention that. Let's get into the next thing here. All right, so let me see what other questions I have. SPCE, all right. So I know there was some talk in the chat room today about this. And, this one is not a market stock, right? So it's not going to really have a major, the NASDAQ and S&P aren't going to have a major effect on it. It's more news driven on its own news, and stuff like that. So right now, that's the level you should be watching, 14.5. It's trying to find a higher low here. It's even trying to develop price action, right? So you have a little mini failed low. It's mini, it's a small one. Now, the other interesting thing about this area is you have this area right here, right here. I'm going to just draw a box around there. That area, that's gap support. So if you look back, a month ago or whatever, there was a gap there, and price has retraced into the gap. Typically, price gaps act as support or resistance levels. So you're in a support area. Okay, not bad. And you're getting an inside bar. So there's some structure there. You do have that. Now, you know, is it guaranteed to hold? No, it's not guaranteed to hold. So in a situation like this, I would wait. If you're interested in buying it, you can measure your risk and your reward from here. Okay. Now, something like this, the stop would have to be somewhere below this candle, 1703. You have to give it some more room. So I'd say around 1650, or maybe even below the gap at like 16 and a quarter, something like that. That gives you plenty of room for this thing to fool around. All right. Keep in mind, if it clears that stop, then you're looking at this 14 and a half. So a few things to keep in mind there. You know, some people, they get into these things and they don't use a stop because it's annoying to get stopped out. I understand, but it's very important that you use a stop because, and maybe you've heard me say it before, but they save a lot of money. Maybe you haven't been in that situation yet, but you know, what if this thing goes to like $10? You'll be happy that you got stopped out and only gave you know, a couple of $100 back as opposed to $1,000. So you really should use a stop in these things because there'll be just that one time where you know, there's just one move because of some news that comes out of nowhere. Chart will not help you with that, and thing, you know, gives back 30% in one day. It can happen. So that's why stops are important. Yes, it's annoying. We get stopped out of stuff. We had a bunch of stops over the week before, but you just deal with them. They're part of doing business. And when you get the signal to get back in, you just get back in. Okay? There'll be occasions where you get stopped out a couple of times in a row. It's not fun. But remember, a stop is costing you 1%. And there'll be that time where that stop saved you from another minus 4 or 5 or 10%. Okay? So I just want to point that out. So like I said, with something like this, if you get stopped out in that 16 and a half area, 16 and a quarter, then you're looking at 14 and a half. That's the next inflection point. Now, as far as reward, if this thing starts to go, you know, it's got some potential here, right? So if you're buying the high, you're buying the break of this high, 18, let's say 18 and a quarter, okay? You're looking to start getting out of this thing. You're risking about 2 points. So you want to, you know, start getting out in the 20s. That's within reason. You want to at least get out for 2 points, at least part of your position, 1-to-1 reward risk. Start, you know, reducing your risk at that point, and then see if it wants to go further. This thing could run to 24. All right, based on where it is now, you're not buying a high, you're buying a low. So there's a lot going for it. Okay, this just needs some, you know, some catalyst to get this thing going. But as far as reward risk, it makes sense. Perhaps there's some options too. I haven't looked at the options on this, but this may be a good options play. Some of these stocks that get cheap like this, you know, you buy a deep out of the money option, you buy a lot of time on it, and you get a pop, you know, over like a week or two, that option could become worth a lot of money. All right, so just wanted to point that out. Thank you for bringing that up. DJ, I think that was DJ that mentioned it. Okay, so let's see. So any other questions? MA. All right, let's see. MA. Let's take a look. Any other questions about stocks or any other market? If you want to see gold, let me know. You want to see oil, let me know. So let's take a look at MasterCard, if that's right. Ford, we'll take a look. Sure. FU, DJ. All right. So let's see. Let's take a look here. All right. So we got support right there. That's an old resistance. We have a level over here. Right. There was a gap after that level. We have a level over here. Right. It's basically relative to the March high. Okay. So those are our levels that are in play right now. Interestingly enough, we have a pin bar that developed on Friday, tried to go somewhere, didn't really go anywhere. So again, this is more of a market stock. If you look at the structure from March, right, March to basically October, pretty much looks like the market, looks like the S&P, right? Also, this looks kind of like what the S&P is doing right now. So this is probably an S&P sensitive stock. You have a gap here which can act as a resistance. All right, so that's something you have to consider. I wouldn't buy this now. It's a good idea, right? Stay away from it until after the election. Keep in mind, if the election comes out favorable for the S&P and the S&P starts to run, this thing may get ahead of itself a bit, right? Probably not a good idea to chase that. So what you should do in that situation, if it does something like that, I mean, if you really want to get in, reduce risk by taking a smaller bite. So normally if you buy 100 shares, buy 25 shares. So if it pulls back, who cares? Okay? And then be prepared to buy more. The pullback, the ideal situation is the higher low, which you can get around here somewhere. What is that? The low 290s. So if it wants to deliver a situation like that, followed by a reversal, that would probably be a high probability, lower risk scenario to get involved in something like this. But if you have a small bite to begin with, now you're in and now you can add. Okay, that's a good opportunity to add. What allows you to do that without getting shaken out, again, is your small size. All right, that's very important. A lot of people make the common mistake where they just buy it all at one price, and you don't have to do that. Okay, you can control your risk more effectively by averaging into a position. All right, large players do that all the time. Okay, so now one thing to consider also is when you talk about averaging, they say never add to a losing position, right? But that's very subjective. Now, if you're buying a stock that just keeps going lower, lower, and lower, 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 yeah, you shouldn't add to something like that. But if you're buying something that's generally strong, but it has some bearish momentum, situation kind of like this, that's something that's generally strong. So is it really a losing position? Not really. All right, until the trend changes. Hey, Michelle. So thanks for bringing that one up. Definitely use the S&P as a guide for that. All right, DJ, let's see F. This F and F. Now, F has had some interesting action recently, right? What the F? All right, enough of that joke. It's Bad Joke Monday today. So here's the thing with F. $7.33, so basically 7.25. That's your support level that you're looking at. It's old resistance, new support. At this moment, there's no reason to buy into this. Although you have a little minor point right here relative to this point over here, you have no reason to buy into this right now. Okay, there's no pin bar, there's no bullish candle, there's nothing there. So I would wait on something like this, wait till 7.25. Now, of course, these stocks have a lot of things going on in them as far as, they could be affected politically. They can be affected by, the whole electric car thing and all that. Maybe they'll invest in another one like Nikola, like they got their investment. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Ford will invest into one of them, whatever, which would be a positive for the one they invest in. I don't know if that would be a positive for, the investor. But anyway, in a technical sense, as far as swing trades go, I would be looking for the 7.25 area and look for a reversal there. That's your high probability area, and then work from there. Okay, something like that, risk on something like that. Of course, you need some sort of setup to measure your risk. But I would imagine on something like Ford, your risk would maybe be $1, $1.50. You don't really have to take $2 or $3. It's unnecessary because this thing doesn't. It's a slower mover. Okay, it's not like you're buying Roku or something. Okay, so good question there. OXY. Now, Benny, was OXY a currency or is that a stock? Let's see. Maybe it's that could be it. That looks like a stock, right? Energy stock. So now remember, Andrew stepped into some VLO, which I believe is one of their in the same sector or in the same space, and it's got a very similar looking chart. All right, recent price action has not been very favorable. Bearish momentum, failed low, double bottom area. Okay. Now the problem with this thing, now as far as a position trade like Andrew's been doing, it makes sense. Okay, position trade, it makes sense because if you have a longer term view, perhaps the oil supply will be affected. Again, there's been talk about that. Like Andrew's idea is if the Democratic side wins, and which is bad for oil producers, that means the supply of oil will be, there'll be less production. And the supply should be smaller, which means oil prices should go up, which means these stocks should go up, right? Because their profit margin will go up or whatever, right? That's the idea. And you see that price action is that's what's developing in there. I wouldn't use the election as a guide for this. We're just going by what the chart says. So yeah, not bad for a long-term idea. Short-term, I mean, yeah, you have some supportive price action. You have the failed low, took out those previous highs, trying to close strong today. Okay, fine. Those are all good things. But the problem is, again, you're fighting bearish momentum. You need to take out a resistance. You need to take out this area right here, right? You need to clear out that 11 and a quarter. That would be the more conservative thing to wait for, because that will be a change of the overall structure from what appears to be bearish here back to bullish. So either you could take a small bite now, perhaps add in that scenario, or take a small bite and perhaps add on a pullback, as long as it is not making new lows. If it makes a new low, like this is a failed low, but if it takes out that low and goes lower, you probably do not want to add to something like that, because that's not a pattern of strength. Okay, so again, since it's in the same sector as VLO, not a bad long-term idea. Manage your risk with size. Okay, so Michelle, nice to see you. DJ, we get the Bronco delivery hopefully 20. Okay, I want to trade my Ford stock. Okay, that's how I want to play. Okay, not bad. All right, cool. Now, so do I have any other ideas, any other stocks you guys would like to see? Guys and girls, you want to see any stocks, any other markets? I wanted to show you a couple of things while you're coming up with your symbols. There was which one I want to take a look at was, well, Groupon, right? Groupon was a trade idea that I sent out over the previous week. You could see the trade idea right there. Okay, the buy stop was 21. It closed that day at 21, and the next day it sold off. Okay, so here's where we are now. Look at the close today. It's basically back to 20, and it never went to its stop. So that's what you want to see in something like this. All right, just wanted to kind of give you an update on that. This is still valid. If you're not in it, then this inside bar, you wait till, perhaps you wait till after the election, and this is still a long. All right, especially if it can clear 21. Maybe you could get a better price. Maybe you can find a cheap option 6 months out on something like this. But that's the deal with that one. I'm anticipating that this will benefit from a holiday season that's coming up. I could be wrong. I don't trade on fundamentals. I'm only looking at the technical situation. But if that's what the large players are betting on, and they have better information than I do, then they're leaving the footprints, right? And that's all I'm interested in, the footprints. The webinar that I went over on Saturday, I talked about price as a discounting mechanism, and that's what's going on here, okay, in theory. If the large players know stuff that we don't know, okay, about things that are going to unfold in a few weeks, they can buy into this now while it's not obvious, okay? So it's being priced in now. And then the news comes out in 3 weeks, and then the retail traders are buying it up here. So that's what that's about, okay? So something to keep in mind there. Another one that I've been watching, right, Nikola. Now look at this. This thing reacted sort of bearishly to the sell-off that we had on Friday or whatever. But look, it's not really pushing lows. It's not making progress. That is actually a hidden bullish sign, okay? There's no reason to go long right now, but if this holds, all it needs is some catalyst that no one, that's just not on everyone's radar right now. It's not, no hints are going to be in the chart. And next thing you know, you get a big bullish candle and the whole world wants it, okay? That's how that goes. So remember, charts can't show us everything, but we have to ask what the stock is not doing. And it's not making progress on the bear side. It's just not. I would not want to be short something like that. Okay, another one. Someone brought this up earlier too. CGC. All right, the cannabis sector. This sector has been such a pain for the longest time, and now look at this. Now it's getting some Robinhood action here, some Robinhood interest. All the reactive traders back into pot. Now instead of smoking it, they're just going to start investing in it again. Okay, cool. Well, here's the thing. So, is this something that we want to get into? This here, what we have here is a breakout, right? We have the higher low followed by the breakout. I talked about this setup on Saturday as well. Something like this, all right? I'm not, even though I saw the breakout, I hesitate to get into this because, I know someone mentioned that Kron is going to have their earnings, and this could be a play on that. That's a possibility. Again, this is a buy signal in terms of the breakout because you have the higher low in place, and it looks like it's going to close pretty strong. Okay, it's closing above this point here. So far, well, it's closed. So, you have that going for it. But the thing is, this can also be part of the whole political thing. This could be, an assumption of a Democratic win or something like that, and it's supposed to be good for the cannabis sector. I don't know if that's the case, and I wouldn't bet money on something like that. Okay, so, but the thing is, if you're interested in this sector, that's okay. I don't like this sector, okay, because the lack of follow through. If you look back here, this was also a breakout back here, and look, it just doesn't follow through. I own some of these stocks, and I don't like them. So what I'm more interested in doing with these is selling calls against. And DJ mentioned here, have you sold your calls against your stock? I tried. I tried to sell $6 call on Kron. They wouldn't fill me. Okay, so I believe that was like a 2-week option. It wasn't like a very. I'm not going to sell a lot of time because the advantage with selling options is you have to do them with front month or less time. That's the probability. Time, the theta decay in your favor. So I was not able to sell it because they wouldn't fill me at my price. I'm not going to hit a bid. I wanted at least $1 for it, and they wouldn't fill me. So no problem. I still have the stock. Now, these stocks are starting to perk up. Okay, cool. I would not go crazy buying these. All right. If you're going to buy something like a CGC, you want to buy it on a low, not a high. If this thing breaks out and proves itself further, then I would wait for this current support, its current resistance of 20. I would wait for that to become a support to consider any type of position in something like this. All right. Now, Kron is the other one. Now look at this, right? Now I have to check the options on this again. This thing is up, what, 72 cents today? It's at $6. Again, I was trying to sell the $6 call. I would imagine that this stock right here at the money for like a front month is probably worth around 50 cents or maybe a little higher. I probably have to go a little further out to get $1. Probably have to go maybe 6 weeks out or something like that to get my $1. And I have to sell an at the money call to get that $1, right? Which I really don't want to do that. I'd rather sell an out of the money call. But this is obviously, they're anticipating something here with this. So my message is this: should you go crazy buying these? No, because the follow through sucks. Okay, and you're going into these resistance areas and this and that. This is fine if you're in it, and you have it from a lower price, or you've been stuck in it like I have, and you could try to sell calls against it or something. All right, so I would not be too excited about these. Now, can that change? Yeah, if they break out and they prove themselves and they follow through and they give us a support to work with, okay, maybe I'll be more open to it, okay, as a new swing trade idea. But these things, like I said, they've been really very uneventful and very slow for months and months and months. All right, so just something to keep in mind. You're going to see hype about them. You're going to see all your Robinhood friends getting involved in them, and that's a sign to not touch these. All right, just want to put that out there. I have to check, like I said, I have to check these option premiums again, and perhaps I will try to sell a call again, because I don't mind even if they take it away from me. I don't mind, because I'll be happy to just get out of some of it because it sucks. Okay, and I get a little premium for it, while I'm at it. All right, so let me see what else we have here. So let me know if you have any other questions. I still have a few minutes here. HS, you bought BTC at 13,250. Let's go back to BTC. Now let me ask you, when did you buy it at 13,250? Like today or yesterday? When did you buy it there? And I'm just curious too, why did you buy it there? 66.5, November 20. See what I mean, DJ? 29 cents. I can't. That's no good. That's no good. I'm not going to sell my stock for 29 cents. I'm only looking to do it with 100 shares. So I'm not going to sell. I want $1. I want $1. So in order for me to get $1, DJ, I'm going to have to sell the $6, right? And probably November 20. That's the front month. So I'm going to have to sell that, and perhaps the $6 I'll get closer to $1. Okay, so look, so that's not even 50 cents right there, right? 29 cents. So that's the way it is. It's because there's no hot air in these stocks because they've been so lousy, right? So when there's no hot air in a stock, meaning they're not overinflated, I mean in an option, then it's usually a good idea to buy the options, right? Not sell them. What am I going to do with 29 cents? Right? But I'm better off buying, and I'm sure you can buy like a $10 or an $8 call 6 months out, and you could probably get it for less than $1. Now that makes sense, okay? Because it's cheap, right? Like NYCB. So HS, yeah, if you can answer that question, let me know why you bought it there, and we'll talk about that. NYCB, right? Remember this, DJ? DJ knows this one because DJ's in this too. This is a garbage stock. It's Bank, New York, whatever. Doesn't really do much, but I got some call options really, really cheap. They're deep out of the money. They're 6 months out. They're way up here, right? As you can see, the stock isn't really doing anything. My options are worth $0 right now, but I paid next to nothing for them, and I have all this time. What if there's some news in this thing or whatever, and this thing starts pushing 10? Those options will be worth something, right? And I have all this time. So that's the way you want to play cheap options, okay? Because again, some news can change it, and next thing you know, this thing is pushing some number that you'd never see coming. All right, so let's see, HS, okay? No, it's a waste of time dealing with pennies, right? It's just not worth. It's just not worth the premium. I want a higher premium, for something like Cron. Because if I'm going to sell my 100 shares, I want something attractive for it, right? What am I going to do with, $29 is just not enough for the nonsense that I have to go through. I want to get paid, right? So either they give me my price or I just hold on to the stock. And when if the stock starts to push, right, CGC these things really start to perform, hey, then the options will start to become inflated. And when they become inflated, that's the best time to sell options. Right, and there's plenty of examples of inflated options, right? I mean, take a look at Sunrun. Is a good example of inflated options. And look, this is starting to turn too. Okay, this is a good stock. This stock is a strong stock. Look at that candle today. Nice inside bar. This could be a long signal tomorrow. But I would wait until Wednesday on something like this. These options are expensive, right? Because there's a lot of inflation in these options. I think like deep out of the money. For 4 or 5 months out, you're still spending like $500. That's a lot for one contract. I'm talking like $30 out of the money, which is a lot. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Pow, nice to see you. Good question. We'll take a look at gold. Let's do that. HS, I want to know why you bought at BTC at 13,250 because I want to address that. Pow, let's take a look at gold. XAU, USD. So gold again is starting to perk up. This one, gold is in a consolidation, okay, and it's been that way for now a few months. Look at this thing, right? It's been consolidating here. It had a consolidation earlier, and it's been a tough spot. The long signals have not produced any good outcomes, so we've been staying away from gold. I believe Andrew had a gold miner. I think it was CLCK or one of those. I can't remember the symbol right now. And he got into a miner based on this consolidation holding, which it's doing. So that's probably a good way to go with these things, right? If gold holds and starts to break out, even in this situation now, you want to look at the miners or GDX, which is a ETF of the miners. I mean, look at this nice double bottom situation, failed low off that consolidation low. That was a long a few days ago. Not a great idea to chase it now. But you want to look at gold mining stocks. NEM, okay, Newmont Mining. Oh man, they're all on their way. So look, that's old news, okay? They knew about this a few days ago. And now gold is starting to go. So I would hold off, at least wait for a pullback or something, because gold itself, again, it's starting to go, but there's been so many fake outs. And there's no evidence here that this thing wants to break out just yet. And risk is high. If you buy this thing right now, you're buying it at $18.95. This thing has been as low as $18.60. On the CFD, that sucks. That's a lot of pain that you have to take, and it can add up. So I would rather wait for a new buy signal on something like this. If it pushes higher, pulls back, gives us a new buy signal, I'd rather wait for something like that than buying into this now and then watching it turn to garbage again, like it has been doing for a little while. All right, the more conservative thing to do is let it break out and then look for the pullback, or hopefully we can get a pullback here. The best price will be around these 1840s, which it hasn't reached yet, but it might, right? This push here could be a lower high, possible. But as you can see, all the stocks are way ahead of it. So just something to keep in mind. In this situation with gold, you're probably better off getting involved in the stock or in the index like GDX than buying this thing. All right. So just something to keep in mind there. I hope that answers your question. Michelle, LRC. Okay. What is LRC? Is that a stock? Or I'm guessing that's an altcoin. Let's see. That must be an altcoin. Right. So if you want to see an altcoin, just make sure you put USD or USDT so I know, so I don't spend 3 hours talking about a stock that no one wants to hear about. All right. So now this thing right here, I can tell you, I don't know anything about it, that there's not much price data there. Let's see if another exchange, this is on Coinbase. Let's see if someone else has more price. Oh, there we go. There we go. Against Tether, I have a lot more price information. So let's take a look against Tether. Oh, not a whole lot more, but there's more. So the USDT chart is probably a better chart to look at here, Michelle, because it gives us much more information. So the initial structure on this thing was bullish, okay? Was bullish. Recent price structure is bearish, right? That's not the trend though. We do have a series of lower highs and lower lows. It's still correcting that bullish structure, that took place back in July and August there. You have this attempt at a push higher. The thing is, kind of looks like gold, okay? The thing is, you have today's candle is bearish. So I don't like this. And the thing is, too, here, let's pull up some inflection points here. You have a level right there, and it reacted to the level, okay? But I would rather see a retest of the level or a double bottom or a failed low at this price. Basically, 13 cents? I'd rather see something like that before getting involved, because right now, this momentum that you're going against is still bearish, right? You have lower highs. Right here, it's a lower high, right? It pushed into that lower low, into the support. This current price area right here is a potential lower high right here. So there's two ways you can go about it, right? So the conservative way is you wait until a resistance is taken out, which means you're not going to get the best price, but at least structure is starting to go your way. That's one thing, right? So you have to give up the best price, or you could wait for the pullback or the double bottom or the failed low. You're going to get a much better price, but momentum is not going to be your way. Structure is not going to be favorable, which means it may not work out. There's a greater chance it makes that lower low and you're caught in that, okay, or you get stopped out. So those are the two things you need to consider. So one way to go about it is if it gives you that price, that the 13-cent area or slightly lower, perhaps a good place to take small bites. If it holds and starts to go and takes out a resistance, you add to it. Okay, and at least now you have some from a good price, and now you're putting on more while the structures improve it. Okay, that's the way to play something like that. Obviously, this thing doesn't seem to be following Bitcoin at all, because Bitcoin has been pushing higher during this whole time, and this thing is not. It's not so I see right there, relative weakness, not great. Okay, I don't want to see things that are relatively weak to Bitcoin. I want to see things that are either outperforming it or at least following it. All right, so just another thing to keep in mind there. A lot of these altcoins are just lottery tickets. They're a total gamble. So we can analyze them technically all we want, but if they're garbage, they're garbage. Okay, so just something to keep in mind as well. Some of them will work out, but that's going to be really a random thing. So XMR. All right, so Monero. This one has been an outperformer, right? We liked Monero. We had some Monero. We got out of it, right? Went to our targets. And this thing was outperforming Bitcoin, that's what you want to see. Bitcoin hadn't even moved yet, and this thing was on its way. Since then, this thing has been in a consolidation, right? Today's candle, not not bullish, that's for sure. But it keeps testing this support here of 115. This is not a time to buy at this moment because there's no setup and there's no confirmation. So you have this bearish outside bar. I want to see if this bearish momentum can continue. I want to see how it behaves around that 115 area. The question that you have to ask yourself is, do you get an inside bar to go long? Do you get a pin bar to go long? Do you get a failed low followed by some sort of bullish, break of a previous day's high? Those would all be buy signals. And do these things occur at 115? Or does price close below 115? If price closes decisively below, then you are looking at the next inflection point, which is going to be here around 100, okay, or those high 90s. So if you get caught, you want to make sure you consider that risk of it going here. And you don't just automatically buy there either. You want to see some sort of confirmation. So those are the support levels that you have to keep in mind and measure your risk against. As far as potential, if this thing can turn around 115, you're looking at the 130s again, as far as taking money off the table and stuff like that. So it should give you a sense of reward risk. All right, so something to keep in mind there. Thank you for bringing that one up. This one's definitely on our radar. Okay, HS. So Ethereum against Tether. So Ethereum follows Bitcoin, and it's not doing its own thing. So here's the thing, and here's why I mentioned that. These coins, like Ethereum, they're going to give you these buy signals. And then, you're going to jump into them thinking, oh, yeah, I got a buy signal, I got a buy signal. But if you notice, these buy signals that work out, Bitcoin also gave a buy signal, and Bitcoin also followed through. Bitcoin led this thing, okay? This thing didn't do it on its own. So Bitcoin is your leader. And if Bitcoin is not working, then this thing's not going to work. All right, so just something to keep in mind. If you're interested in Ethereum or taking a new long in Ethereum, I would wait until Bitcoin has the new long. I would not take Ethereum on its own, not as a swing trade. Position trade, if you're into this in the long term, that's a different story. But even at these levels, I don't like this thing, okay? Very dependent on Bitcoin. So, you have a level here. It's coming off that resistance level. There's just no reason to do anything at this moment. Wait for the pullback. But like I said, use Bitcoin for your cue. When a buy signal shows up in Bitcoin, Ethereum should be showing a similar signal, and that's when you can measure your reward risk. That's if you're interested in more Ethereum. If you're looking for an investment, none of these prices are really attractive, right? If you're going to get involved in this area as an investment, you're better off going small, because long term, like our portfolio, our position trade strategies, we need extreme prices. That's when you'll notice. If you notice, Andrew, he manages most of that. You notice he doesn't send out any long-term Bitcoin trades in a while because we're not at long-term attractive levels, right? You want to see extreme prices. So if Ethereum goes to something like 240, which Bitcoin would also be getting hammered, that's where you buy for the big picture, not at these prices. Okay, these are smaller time frame. These are swing trade prices, not position trade. Investment prices are dramatic lows where everyone's banging it out, where all the gurus, all the fake gurus on TradingView are calling for, this thing's going to zero. That's when you buy those for investment. If you're buying it here, you're vulnerable to getting caught in one of those moves. Now, I'm not saying Ethereum is going to go to 240. It's a question of if that type of opportunity appears, right? That's where we look for portfolio ideas. And that's how we averaged into a position. I think our average price was in the 6,000s or something like that. Okay, that's how you do that. You're not going to do that buying highs. You're going to do that by buying extreme lows, stepping in front of it when everyone is scared and everyone hates it. It's not easy to do. It's easy for me to sit here and talk about that, but when it's going on, you would be surprised how many people that were like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy it, and then what's going on with Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin going to zero? And we just told you we're buying this thing. You know what I mean? So you just have to have that plan and wait for it. Okay, so that's Ethereum. I hope that answers your question there as far as short term and long term. Remember, you have to keep them separate. DJ, right? So run. The options are insane. Right, that's right. They're ridiculously overinflated. Okay, on something like Sunrun. So the thing is, this is a situation here where you're probably better off selling an option. Like, so what would you do here? You'd sell a put. Of course, you'd have to be prepared to take delivery of the stock, but if you sell a put, maybe $5, maybe $10 out of the money, you're going to collect an inflated premium. This thing goes your way, that premium is yours, right? So that's a situation where you could take advantage of the inflation rather than having to pay it. Okay, Pow, curious what to think about Form. Possible bullish continuation. Thought about buying it. Okay, right. And it's generally a good idea to really hold off until after the election on a lot of these things. All right, or unless you want to take small bites. Okay, so form factor. Let's take a look. Are they a 3D printer? I'm just curious. Now, let's look at the levels here. So you have a level here. All right, you have one. Hold on, you have a level over here somewhere. All right, so that's sort of overlapping. And let's see, you have one over around here, right around there. All right, so these are your levels. And then, of course, you have these up here. You have this, you have that, and you have this way up here. Now, you do have the higher low. Nice. I like this structure. I like this recovery structure. I like the higher low. All bullish signs, okay? Yeah. This would be an ideal breakout. So like the people that came to my webinar on Saturday, right? We talked about the third setup, which was the breakout setup. That's what this is. That's what this thing is setting up to do, the breakout. Now, why do I prefer a breakout on something like this than trying to buy the pullback? Because you have a nice, tight, higher low. You have a nice, strong structure it's coming off of. This breakout can go somewhere, okay? This breakout can go somewhere. Higher lows typically lead to higher highs. So I would be looking for, a test of one of these, 31, perhaps 32. What's this thing? The breakout would be what? 20. So basically $30, right? $30 breakout. Your risk is going to be defined by 28. So you're going to be risking about $2. So you should be making $2 at least on your first portion of that if you can. And then perhaps it makes the higher high from there. That's what you need to see. Will it produce all that? I don't know, but that's what you're watching for. If it gives you something different, you have to adjust. But I would also agree with Pow. It's a good idea to wait until after the election. Okay, but I like it though. Nice setup, nice structure, and it's a breakout play for sure. Okay. Also, I'm starting to look at options out of the money for far out dates. Okay, what do you do for stop? Oh, good question. Good question, Pow. So for options, like the deep out of the money, I like that strategy because I like to buy a lot of time really cheap if I can. As far as a stop, Pow, I don't use a stop. The option premium that I pay is the stop. So for example, like let's take a look at one like Groupon, right? Groupon is a good idea of something like this because you can get these 6 months out. You can get them relatively cheap, and I'm talking like $40. I think the $40 calls go for like $1.50 or something like that. I don't know. We're talking 6 months out. That's a lot of time. And if I'm spending $1.50 or $150 for 6 months on one option, that's cheap. Okay, that's pretty cheap, especially one that can pop. Remember, I don't need it to go to my strike price. If I have the $40 call, I don't need it to go to $40. All I need it to do is go like, halfway there. If it starts to push into the low 30s, my premium will probably double. Okay, on such. So if I bought it for $150, it'll probably be worth $2 or $3, $2.50 or $3 or something like that. Even if it's still out of the money, as long as I still have a lot of time in it. So I need this thing to pop relatively soon, maybe over the next month or two, okay? But if I own this thing, and now I'm like, 5 months into the 6 month option, then my premium is going to be pretty much gone, okay? So you're just basically buying into the chance of a sharp move quickly. And one way to look at it as far as a stop, so I don't use an actual technical stop. So I'm basically, the premium that I buy it for, that's it, okay? If that evaporates, well, that's my stop. That's the money I'm willing to risk. Now, one thing you can consider is if it goes 3 months into this, 3.5, 4 months, and the thing is not performing, and your option is still worth a little something, maybe it'll be worth 50 cents, maybe less, just you get out and take whatever you can get for it. Okay? I mean, that's really, it may be worth If the stock has gone against you in that time and the stock is a lot lower, then your option will probably be worthless if it's that far out of the money. So just something to keep in mind, like NYCB, right? Right now, my options are worthless. There's no bid on the options, but I have a lot of time. So if NYCB has a nice move over the next couple of months, that worthless option can become worth 50 cents. And that would actually be a win. That would actually be a profitable trade for me because I got them so cheap. Okay? So just something to keep in mind there. When you're dealing with options, it's a lot less technical game after you're in. After you're in, it's just up to the market to do its job. Okay, that's a nice thing about options. So let me see here. So that's POW. Okay. So let's see, swipe. Oh yeah, that's good that you bring swipe up because we had a question about that in the chat room as well. So that's SXP, and then you want it on that exchange. So let me see here. Let me get that right. Where is that? Hold on. USDT. Is it USDT? Yeah, I believe that's it right here. Right, this one. So let's take a look. All right, now again, right off the bat, right, garbage. I mean, I have to say it's garbage because for one, you have all right, well let's look at this with less bias. So you have this bullish structure and it's been correcting that structure for quite some time. The thing is on this run here, this should have done something, okay? But instead, it established a lower high. That's not good. Now, since then, you have lower highs and lower lows. So here we are now. The thing is messing around with its low. Let's see how, oh wow, I'm way over time here. All right, guys, so I'll go over a few more. I'll do the euro and then I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, I don't want to make this a 2-hour session. DJ knows how I like to talk for 2 hours and, and I shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, so here's the thing with something like swipe. I hope you're not in it, but the thing is, this is bearish. This is all pretty bearish. You may see the failed low and say, oh, but there's a failed low. Possible. But the thing is, it's a failed low in a bearish structure. That's not good. On top of that, you have a bearish pin bar today. So I don't like this. There's no reason to be long this thing right now. If you're long, then either you get out and take a loss or you just hold on and hope it recovers at some point. But I would not add. There's no reason to add to this. Okay, now what you want to see in order to add, and I would wait for the conservative change here. Resistance needs to be taken out. This area needs to be closed above. Okay, so what is that? $1.42. So $1.50 needs to be taken out. When $1.50 is cleared and price is staying above that, then you can look at a pullback for a possible higher low, perhaps if you want to add at that point. But I would wait on this one. I would wait because again, these altcoins, it's not like you're buying something that really, these altcoins don't really provide any real value. All right, so just keep that in mind. They don't really have any, I don't trade on fundamentals, but there's really no fundamental reason even for other investors to get involved in something like this, right? So I'd want to see the structure prove itself. Like I say, at least with cannabis stocks, they sell a product that people use, at least, even though they can't find CEOs that are, honest. At least they make a product that people use. What does Swipe do? So a lot of altcoins are in that situation. Just something to keep in mind. That's what I'd wait for on something like that. I'm very conservative with these because it's very easy to just throw money away on those. You might as well invest in CGC. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. All right, Oleg, let's take a look at the euro real quick. So I talked about this earlier. I'm glad you bring up the euro again. I don't have too many Forex traders, so I'm happy to take a look at this again. Euro is in a buy area. Now, the 1680s was the actual inflection point, but that doesn't guarantee that it's going to turn at 1680. We're getting an attempt here to buy a little bit, but this is way too early. And this is probably, we have a bunch of dollar sensitive events this week. We have the election tomorrow. We have FOMC on Wednesday? Was that? Or Thursday? Thursday was the FOMC meeting, which is a big deal for the dollar. And then Friday is NFP. So that's a lot of Forex action, for 1 week. 3 major potential market moving events. So I would not touch the euro until we get those things out of the way. Now, unless there's a really clear-cut buy signal, even then I would hesitate. Okay, so depending on how it goes, it's possible that this thing could test the 1400s if there's any type of surprise or any type of extreme move with the dollar. If monetary policy changes in some way, you can see extreme moves in this thing. Okay, if NFP surprises people, you can see an extreme move. So I would wait on this thing. Okay, but the location is attractive for a long. Now people are going to say, "Oh no, it's bearish. Look, you got all this bearish." Yeah, right. But people that are saying that are not paying attention to this, right? They're usually paying attention to news. Oh, all kinds of stuff going on in the Eurozone. Okay, whatever. Oh, the ECB president said this. Okay, whatever. This structure is bullish, okay, and it's been consolidating. Sure, you don't want to buy into these highs. I understand, no problem. But there's nothing bearish about the euro. Okay, bigger picture, there's nothing bearish about this. This is bullish, kind of like gold, kind of like the pound dollar. Okay, so I like it long, just not yet. I would wait. No reason to jump into this. Probably need to wait until Thursday or Friday. And if I'm going to wait that long, then I'm probably not going to do anything till Monday. All right? Because why should I get into this on a Friday when things can change between Friday and Sunday? All right, let me see. I am Nicola Workhorse. Okay. Right, so something like Nicola, like Workhorse got beat up, but look, it's got an inside bar in there today. It's at a support level. We have that position in Workhorse, 100 shares from a cost basis of 23 or whatever. We took delivery on a short put. But we're confident with Workhorse. Again, this is not an altcoin. They make a product with a lot of potential. This is not even as bad as a cannabis stock. All right, so we're confident with this, at least on a fundamental basis. So we don't mind taking the risk. Again, we don't have a ton of shares either. 100 shares. If this thing gives back a few more points, I mean, we've taken much bigger risks than that. So not really a whole lot to worry about. Plus, we can always sell calls against this thing too. So I wouldn't worry too much about Workhorse. It just needs to get this thing going. Tesla is obviously the leader. Look at Tesla, inside bar. Okay, that's what you want to see on these things. Inside bar. If Tesla has a leg higher, I would imagine Workhorse is going to at least be affected by that in a positive way. All right, everyone. So that's it. I'm going to wrap this up before I have a 2.5-hour session here. I hope I got to everyone's questions. No problem. Again, if you're new to Greenbridge, please make sure you subscribe to the channel here. Please press the like button if you can. It really means a lot to me. And make sure also to share this video with your friends if you have friends that would be interested in this. Now, check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal by text, swing trade signal service by text and by email. We also have portfolio management ideas by email. And we have a chat room where we're sharing insight and perspective and updates to our trades each day. We're raising our prices. So if you try out our free trial and you become a member before we raise the prices, which we're going to be doing very soon, then you keep the current prices that we have now because we don't penalize our members. Okay? So if you sign up for the monthly membership or you sign up for the other ones that we have and you stay on after the 7 days, well, you get to keep those prices after. Okay, and you'll renew at those prices even though they won't be available to new members. So I just wanted to mention those things. All right, I'm going to wrap this up, everyone. Again, I want to thank you all for spending this almost 2 hours with me, hour and a half. And again, we have a free chat room too. So if that's someone put something in there today in the free chat room. Someone put, hey, no stuff for the free chat room. We use that chat room to answer questions from new people. We don't put a lot of stuff in there, for one, because we don't get a lot of people in that room to begin with, right? So if we had people in there asking questions, then there's a reason for us to put stuff in there. But if no one's asking questions, then we get the sense of that no one's interested. So use the free chat room. Okay, go in there, ask us stuff. Powell uses it. A few other people use it. They ask us questions, and we answer the questions. So go in there and ask us questions. You can ask us throughout the day. And we may not answer it in an instant, because we have our other chat room we have to stay on top of, but we will get to the question, okay? And, we want to make sure that we at least provide that insight for you. All right, everyone, so that's it. I'm going to stop talking. I want to thank you all again for spending this time with me. I hope to see you in our paid chat room, in our free chat room, and I'll see you next time. Again, like I said, for tomorrow, don't go into the election with a bias. Just look for your information on the chart. The first question you should ask yourself is, what is the chart saying? Let the chart answer the questions, okay? Not your bias, not your feelings, not the news. Let the chart answer the questions. All right, so I'll leave you with that. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you again for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.